Good afternoon, friends. My name is Elcid Gomes, and I'm here at Welingkar Institute today to speak about my journey. At the onset, before we can actually go ahead and start off with this, a sincere thanks to Professor Rajesh Aparnath and the faculty at the distance learning program with WeSchool for providing such a wonderful medium where students like me can actually get across and speak with potential students across the web, on the net, via the Facebook video channel. So thank you once again, and I'll just go ahead and start off with a brief introduction about myself and my journey, and how Welingkar's Institute did help me in my journey. Like I said, my name is Elcid Gomes, and I'm currently working with ANI Technologies, that is Ola Cabs. I'm sure you all might have heard about Ola Cabs. It's making waves in the transportation sector. So I do work with Ola Cabs in the capacity of a training manager, and I also handle some part of call center operations. I've been with Ola Cabs for roughly 1.5 years now, and I've had a good journey with a lot of learnings that I've gained from my MBA program with Welingkars. So well, all was not hunky-dory, so I'm going to talk about my journey right up from the start, and I'll tell you how it culminated to this point. So let's get geared before we can go ahead and take off on this. I started my journey way back in 1995, and that was across a different geography altogether. I worked abroad in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates, and I worked in the sales and service sector initially. That's where I started my career with. I worked with a company over there which dealt with technical products, and this spanned across roughly around right up till 2003. In 2003, I decided, that I need to have a shift. I don't know, something down the line was not working right for me. I decided that I need to do something different. And that's when I took a call and I came back to India, back to my homeland, and I said, let's do something out in India over here. I got into the call center business. I started off with a company called FIS Internationals, that was commonly known as eFunds. I worked with eFunds for roughly close to 2 years, and what intrigued me with eFunds is that there was a big, huge gap that could have been plugged. Customer service was just picking up in India in somewhere around 2003, 2004, and there was huge scope over there. We needed professionals, we needed people, and I felt I had the passion and the drive to actually do something over there. So I did work with them for 2 years. I started off over there, and coming back from the Gulf with a well-paying salary, and coming back and settling down in India was a hit. But I needed to be somewhere. I wanted to go, and I was actually searching, how will I pursue the journey of mine? How will I take it forward? And throughout my journey over there with eFunds, I got to realize that there are untapped potentials with me, and I needed direction over there. My mentors, my bosses did guide me. Eventually, after 2 years, I moved to another company, erstwhile 3 Global Services. Today, that's Tech Mahindra. So I joined them in 2005. I started off again with operations over there, and eventually grew up to the role of a senior training consultant with Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra opened up a lot of avenues for me. In fact, I got good exposure to operations. So I moved eventually from operations. I handled floor operations, I handled grooming of individuals, and the potential that I had was realized by my superiors, and I eventually moved into the training space. And I started off my journey in the training and development sector over there. So I moved from training and development into a senior training consultant eventually in 2011. That's basically a lot of designing and development, and a lot of coaching and grooming of individuals. So that was where I actually was and where I had reached. I started off into sales and services, and somewhere down the line I realized that, whoa, I've just come to a different facet of my life. What do I do now? What is the road ahead? I still had a lot of questions in my mind at that time. At one point of time I thought, like, okay, that's it. I am a senior training consultant. I handled a bit of quality also at that time. I said, what do I do next? Where do I go ahead? What is my journey going to be like? Until I kept praying to the Lord, like, show me the light, give me some direction. I need to break out of this, because I somewhere down the line still felt that I haven't achieved what I was born for. And that's when a gentleman, a telemarketer, I just thought at that time, he's just calling and trying to promote WeSchool. I still remember his name, Mr. Amit Dukre. So he called me up and he said, you know what, Elcid, he had a very candid chat with me and spoke to me about my entire journey. I opened up to him and I told him, these are things that are bothering me, and can you provide me a solution with this? So he came over. He actually came to my place and he gave me a prospectus and a big brochure, and he explained all the topics and all the avenues that I had actually. And wow, I mean, MBA was something that I never dreamt of. I at that point of time, I still had my doubts, and I said, how am I going to look at this portion? It's like so scary, so huge, so vast, and MBA is not for me. I'm not cut out for that. How will I ever manage this? And Amit told me, like, relax. I don't know, but I think he was just God sent, and there was a message that came across that, come on, go ahead, do it. You have the passion, you have the drive. You've been waiting for this, and it's your time in life. Go ahead and do it. So that's when I went ahead. I signed up for this program. I was going through a financial problem, and most of us do, living in Bombay. I was at that phase of time wondering how will I manage the fees. But here's the relief over here. I actually paid in installments. I'll be very honest with you. I worked and I paid off in installments. This wonderful institute, they give you that flexibility to do that. So I at one point of my time, I was learning and I was paying for it, and I felt that I need to get the value out of it. This program was so well paced, so well designed. So as you will go and see, as I tell you, this course is not just you receiving books and then going and giving your exams. No, I think it's a very well paced, very well designed journey where the WeSchool handhold you. They give you that support at the start and they make you reliant. So today I'm very, very confident with the way I've been groomed with this course. Probably there were a lot of things that I was doing, I didn't realize them, but after going through this course, I have realized my untapped potential over here. The course is fantastic. You start off with very, very basics. You have subjects such as the principles of management, which gives you a very, very clear view of what management is all about. Yeah, how does a manager function? What does a manager need to know? What does a manager do? How does a manager get to the job and get work done? How does a manager sometimes roll up his sleeves and get into the field? So these a lot of things that you will learn in subjects like principles of management. It gives you management down the ages. And a fantastic professor that I had, Professor Welingkar. Oh, he's an icon and a legend. I do call him up sometimes even today. And I have chat with him whenever I am stuck up with something. So, Welingkar is like my support. I think I have, it's not just a relationship that I have with Welingkar for 2 years, but I think I've developed a bond and a relationship with Welingkar where I call my sirs, I call my professors, all well qualified gentlemen. Professor Iyer, if I have any problems with manpower and how do I handle manpower, how do I work with labor. So I had a very good chat with him very, very recently. Very well experienced individual. He comes from the engineering sector and he's done his stuff in this, So you've got amazing support from him. The evergreen Professor Deepak Bhattacharya, a lovely individual, very cheerful, exudes so much of positivity and vibrance. A wonderful person to be with. I'm in touch with all these people. Even Professor Suresh Pujari, he made accounts very, very simple. So before this MBA program, I was really thinking about, chalo, I'll manage principles of management. I can mug stuff, I will do marketing as well, but how will I do accounts? How will I do how will I look at the book of accounts after all these years? Mr. Pujari made my journey very, very simple. I remember times when I have actually even called him at 11:30 and 12 in the night, and we have even WhatsApped each other and we have chatted, and he's told me, you try this formula, and this is how it works. So I've got wonderful support. This program is very, very well placed. It's very well designed in the sense you start off, like I said, with very simple and very basic topics like principles of management, managerial economics, basic financial accounting. Believe me, the journey is very simple, provided you dedicate some time. You got to dedicate a minimum of maybe half an hour to 1 hour with your books every day. Okay, I know we all come from different facets of life where time is a crunch, but somewhere down the line, this is something that will help you. This practice, give it your best for the next 2 years or 3 years of your life, and you will reap the benefits of this. So that's like what I was saying over here. This journey, it was quite tough, no doubt. Stuff is tough. I mean, you get your degrees over there, but you have to have that passions. You have to show that go for it. Until and unless you don't do that, and when you're doing this course, trust me, you will feel very, very motivated. Like I feel on top of the world today, because I know where I was in 95 and where I am today. Today I can just walk into a room and have a chat with people. I can connect across with people and share my experiences and tell them, give them directions on training in my sphere. Don't do this course if you are just looking for a degree, because trust me, this was the first line that I also got when I entered this university. I remember Professor here telling us, please walk out of the door right now. Okay, there is no need if you want a paper degree. If you want to do this with the passions that you come to learn something over here. You don't come here for a degree, you don't come for a paper degree over here. It's not going to add any value in your life. So you need to do this, realize in yourself that MBA is just a very fancy term, okay, but gain the knowledge. I think the knowledge that I have gained with after coming over here, I think this is one of the best decisions of my life over here. It's got the ball rolling right now, and I'm prepared to even study more. Yeah, unfortunately time is a constraint, but I want to do it. It's given me that kind of confidence where after all these years, I mean, I finished college like in 92, 93. After that it was 2000. I did in 2014. That's a very, very long gap. So I was like very worried at that time, like, how will I get back to books? Today I am so confident after going through this course with Welingkar that I can actually just open up a book and go ahead and do that. It's given me that kind of confidence. It's made learning very, very easy. So that's about my journey over here. And once I got this degree, the job also came very, very easily. Welingkar's got, trust me, it's got a name in the industry over here. I would like to share one thing over here. You need to always keep this in mind. You need to have a strategy of your own. Now, I'm quoting this out of one of the books in management over here. This is in a subject called strategic management. This line says very, very clearly over here, make sure that you have your own strategy. Because if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan, you will be somebody else's strategy and plan. Okay, people will probably use you for their plan. So it is very, very important. If you know that your journey in life is, I need to reach X. Okay, I need to have a way, I need to have a style, I need to have a smart target. So that's something that I learned at Welingkar over here. Smart. Have a very smart goal, a specific, something that's measurable, something that is attainable, something that's realistic and time bound. So you need to have something like that, a very specific goal. I need, say, to give you in the common context, I need to ensure that my sales go up by 7% in the next 5 days. That is a specific, you're adding a number over there. So you know where you're driving towards. Yeah, something that's measurable, like 7%. Something less than 7% won't do, something more than 7% will do. Something that's achievable. I'm not saying that my sales need to go by 100% up in the next 2 or 3 days. Not realistic. So something that's achievable, something that's realistic, and something that you will do in the next 2 days or 3 days. So this is the concept. These are some of the things that I've learned when I was at Welingkar. The SMART concept. Something that helped me understand and develop myself and deliver better was, when you recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay. Now strengths and weaknesses, these are internal to you. Okay. I'm talking basically about a SWOT analysis. You can probably Google this down as well. And I would recommend every individual should have a SWOT analysis for himself. Probably every month, every 2 months, to see his journey at home, to see his journey at work, and in whatever sphere he wants to excel in. So a strength and a weakness, that's something that I got to know about my strengths, I got to know about my weaknesses, and I strengthened my strength to weaken my weaknesses. Now strengths and weaknesses are internal. This course helped me realize what my strengths were and how I could capitalize on them. It told me what my weaknesses were and how I could minimize on them. This course also helped me know what are the opportunities and the threats that exist in the outside, because opportunities and threats are not internal, they are external. Okay, so and trust me, I use this even till date in my work. At work, there are so many concepts that I've learned over here. Like I look at what my strengths are, I look at what my team's strengths are, I look at what my company's strengths are. I use that against the weaknesses that we have. We have opportunities in the market outside, we have threats in the market outside. So we actually use concepts like this. Now let me give you a very, very simple example about what a SWOT is and how it would help you over here. So say for example, I'll talk about my current my current industry that I am, that is the cab industry. The strength about the cab industry is that we've got a huge fleet. So the cab aggregator industry, I'm sure all of you all do know how it operates. We've got a huge fleet available in Mumbai. There are lots of driver partners who like to make some extra business and money. Today the cab industry is flourishing. That's the strength. The weaknesses that our business has probably could be because of factors such as the behaviors of individuals, the attendance, the availability. These are something that is very internal to the company. The opportunities that are there in the market. Mumbai is a huge place. Roughly the population is quite huge over here, and everyone needs some kind of transportation mode. You look at your trains, the trains are bursting at the seams. Look at the BST services, they can't actually accommodate that. So that's an opportunity, a very, very big opportunity. Threats, there are various threats in Mumbai, there are various unions. Now when I'm talking about threats, I also will talk, I'll invite you all to think about threats. There are threats come in different, this is something that I learned at Welingkar, where I know how to identify my threats. Threat could be possibly a political threat or an economical threat. Political is like unions. Economical threat is probably company needing funding, need money. Social threats, people having a different bias altogether about a particular service. A technological threat, probably sometimes when the network's down. Yeah, and legal threats, maybe threats that come in from the law, from the government. So the pestle effect basically that you get to know. Now all these things all do exist, but I think this course has helped me understand. It's helped me realize that these are your pain areas, your problem areas. You need to work on this, you need to break these down, and you need to work on that. So couple of concepts over here. It is very important when you do your course. I'll talk about something else that I've learned over here. Okay, you need to ensure that you pick up the right tools. Okay, now the right tools. Now when I'm talking about tools, I don't mean maybe a screwdriver or a spanner. I'm talking about tools that will add value, like certifications. Knowledge is a tool. Okay, you need to ensure that you're aimed with the right tools, because the tools that you pick up will shape your journey. Okay, now when I'm talking about a journey, the tools that I picked up over here was, I equipped myself with an MBA. I equipped myself by doing a post-graduation diploma in human resources management, and the subjects that I did. The various subjects that I did were tools. So once you pick up your tools, you then realize that this is my journey. And when you have a journey, you know, you get a guidance, you know which direction you need to go. So the tools that you pick up will help you choose your journey, and your journey will shape your destiny. So in the interest of time, I do see that we are getting a couple of questions over here. I would love to talk with more with you guys, but I think I'll connect with you all on Facebook via question answer mode. I'd just like to answer a few questions that I have over here. We've got the first question coming in from Mr. Arvind Singh. I think Arvind Singh is wanting to know, okay, yeah, his question is, how do you evaluate the effects of training on employees? So that's a wonderful question, Arvind. Thanks for putting that question across. Basically, training is something very, very important, and it is required for every organization. Now, let me talk before I get into the effects of training on employees. I'm going to just quickly tell you about the fact that every organization, why do people start off organizations? People do start off organizations to make profit. Basically, money is basically why an organization exists. The prime reason for an organization to be, number one, is to make profit, to generate revenue, and number two after that is to deliver a service. Okay, the service could be manufacturing, it could be customer service, it could be retail, it could be anything. So basically, your profitability only would come in for an organization when your employees are well trained, when your employees are well knowledgeable about the subject. Okay, now when we talk about your question over here, which says evaluate the effects, how do we evaluate the effects of trainings on employees? You've identified the need for training, and you found out that, okay, yes, I need to train this set of employees on this particular module. We go ahead with the training, we complete the training, and now we need to see the effects of training on these employees. How has it impacted them? What has happened about it? So something that Welingkar did give me good insights on is, how do you look about at evaluating training? It's very simple. I call it the RLBR concept. Okay, so let me just explain to you what RLBR is when it comes to an employee. R stands for reactions. You gauge your reactions of your trainee, your audience. You'll have 5 people in the classroom. You've just trained them on a module. Okay, you got to see how receptive were they to the model. You just probably did an experience on customer service, and you've taken them through that. What was the reaction? Did they find the model interesting? Was it I would say favorable to them? Did they resonate your thoughts? Did they understand those concepts over there? Were they happy? Were they sad? You can look at their reactions. It's basically the degree to which your participants were involved with you. You study their reactions. Okay, some very common methods that we can probably look to gauge this information over here. You can't wait for 1 week to get this information. So this kind of a reaction is best captured immediately after the training. You can have a quick question and answer round for this one. You can have a feedback session. You can have probably just a very candid one-on-one with the individuals to understand how receptive were they for this. You can use this. The next thing, after having spoken with reactions, you can then move to the next line where you need to gauge theirs is learning. The degree to which participants have captured the intended knowledge that you wanted to transfer across to them. How did they understand that? How well How well have they grasped what you've actually taught them? In the first one, we've looked about reactions. Now we're going to be looking at learnings, what you've trained them with. Have they captured the skills? If you've showed them that, you know, a motor needs to be turned in this particular fashion, it has to be clockwise. You do a quick check with them. You give them hands-on. You give them, you know, technically a practical session at that time to see, okay, how do we turn the motor switch? Is it clockwise? Is it anti-clockwise? So this is kind of, you know, more of an action-oriented phase where you will then gauge their learnings to understand. You can choose test, you can choose demos, you can do on-job trainings to see how much has been grasped over there. The next is the behavior. Now let's not confuse this behavior with the behavioral, with the attitude. The behavior of an individual, once he's captured the training, once he goes on to the job, has his behavior changed? How does he find it? Does he find it easy? Is he able to easily do it in you know, something that he would take 5 minutes earlier? Can he do it in 2 minutes now? How comfortable is he with it? Has it changed its behavior pattern over there? So that's something that you can probably do. You can do this by, you know, doing on-job observations. You can sit with your trainees. You can see how well they perform the task. If, you know, if someone's taking a call at the call center, for example, you can just double jack into them and see how quickly they can resolve, you know, a call. So you get to understand the behavioral pattern of the individual in completing that particular function. And the last one that you have over here is the results. Now results is basically, this one is the only one which is you know, generating, which gives you an idea. It's more in terms of the ROI or the return on investments over here. You'll actually look at before results and after results. You'll then map and see, okay, fine, this trainee at the start of the course had a score of this much, and at the end of this course, this is the score. It's X at the start and X plus 1 at the end of the course. So this concept is something that I learned at Welingkar, the RBR technique, or you can just Google it down as well. It's the Kirkpatrick method, where you will get insights on how to capture the trainings, or the effects of training on employees over here. Yeah, I hope I've answered your question on that, Arvind. If not, we can definitely connect on Facebook, and I can give you more insights over there. I think we have one more question over here. We've got this question that's coming from one of our it's come from Elcid Gomes. Elcid Gomes would like to know, how do you choose and plan your new training programs? So yeah, that's a very interesting program, Elcid. You need to, so I would say training is not the solution to everything. So before you choose and plan your training programs, it is very, very important that you ensure, you ask yourself one question over here, which I always do. Is training really required? Do you really need to do training over here? So this will bring you to something that's called, you know, an analysis, which is called nothing else but a training needs analysis, where we try to identify a particular gap and see, okay, maybe X number of people in this company are not clear of a particular concept. Okay, can I diminish that gap? Can I close that gap by just explaining to them, by just doing a quick briefing? Sometimes, you know, training involves you know, money, it involves budgets, it involves cost. You're taking employees off their routine, so those employees are not productive. So there is a lot of cost involved over there. So you need to ask yourself a question first at the start and understand, is training really required? Okay, after you've done your analysis, now you can do your analysis via various channels. You've got something that's called a cause and effect diagram. You just list down things on the board, a fishbone technique basically. You list all the possible causes and you list the outcome. You list what is actually impacted, and you list possible reasons that could be. It could be a man issue, it could be a machine issue, it could be a materials issue, it could be a method issue. So you need to break that down and understand the causes that are causing this particular gap. Once you've identified that yes, there is a need for training, okay, that it's not something that I can do probably via briefing, but I need to do some training now. That's when you will then go ahead and analyze your situation completely. You will, once you've analyzed it and understood, you will then design design your content. You You see, okay, what is needed, what is the material that I need to put over there. After designing it, you develop it, you work on the concepts, you say, okay, fine, I'm going to do this particular model, and this model is about good behavior when handling customers. Now, what am I going to develop in that? I'm going to probably write about different aspects about being polite, being crisp, being to the point, accommodating your customers. So that's the design phase where you actually go ahead and you design things over there into it. Once your design phase is over, you have your content ready, you go ahead and implement it, which means you take your trainees to it. You actually explain to them, you explain to your audience that this is the content, and you take them through a detailed content study over there. And then lastly, once they got practicing into it, you evaluate them. Once you evaluated them, you see that there are still gaps, you revisit back again and reconfigure your design back again. So that's basically how we actually go about with choosing a training program. And once you've actually chosen your training program, how you develop it. I hope I've answered your question, Salisha, on this one. So we've got another question that's coming from Neha Pandey. Neha Pandey says, what is the one thing you always follow when handling employees? That's a nice question over here. That's a very close question to my heart as well. I simply go with something called TLC, not the TLC channel, but tender loving care. We are all human beings. We tend to make mistakes at times, but it's very, very important. And I think I've learned that we all come with that. We all born out of our parents' womb. We don't come knowledgeable. We come into this world and we gain knowledge at different phases of our life. So we need to be very, very careful when you're dealing with people, because people are not machines. They're human beings. They have sentiments. So and as a trainer, you got to be extra careful and extra accommodating, and caring for your people. Your people will make mistakes. They'll fumble once, they'll fall down once, they stand up. That's what a coach is. That's what a trainer is. You need to guide them, and it's not only their journey, it's your journey with them, and that's something that will help you grow. You can be very encouraging. You can encourage your participants. You need to be supportive of your participants and be conscious of their emotions, because when a trainee is in a training program, they're going through a lot emotionally. At the start of the training program, there is fright. There's take my example for sure over here. When I joined Welingkar, I was very apprehensive, but the kind of support that I got from my superiors, my professors, I was very, very assured, and 2 years down the line, I was very confident. So you as a trainer play that kind of a role in developing someone and getting them up that curve. That's the learning curve, and that's where you'll bring them and leave them. So that's there. Maintain good body language, good eye contact. Be assertive when you have to. Yeah, it's not always yes. You need to be assertive at that time, and that's how you can handle your employees. We've got a question from Rohit over here, saying, how do you handle aggressive customers? I think I've already spoken about that in the same question over here. I'll just add over here, an aggressive customer is someone who always keep this one point in mind. A complaint is a request for more information. Not everyone who's complaining is your enemy. Probably I'm getting aggressive over here because what I have, my questions are not being answered. So the very, very important thing that you need to keep in mind is, when you're handling aggressive customers, do not react. Instead, respond. Okay, take a deep breath. When you come across somebody who's aggressive, give it a count of 10 to 1, the reverse, and start responding to your customers or to that individual. Respond rather than react. React will only bring up confrontation. A response will bring about a dialogue. Okay, so that's the most important thing. And once you have that one in place, I think you can just simply go ahead, listen, love your customers. When I say love, LUV, the short form, listen, understand, and value your customers. Because I think once you've got that, I think you've got your customer. You can turn an upset customer into, you can turn a moment of despair into a moment of magic. I would like to quote a lot of examples over here, but you can actually look up the example of British Airways on the net, how they turned a moment of despair for an upset customer to a moment of magic. So tender loving care, and handling, being responsive rather than reactive, and loving your customers is something that's going to plug that for you. So I hope I've answered that for you, Rohit. Mihika has a question over here which says, what are some unique methods you have while training? Well, Mihika, this is something that I do, okay, something that I learned at Welingkar as well. Helped me to a great extent. I used to do this subconsciously, but now I do know there are different styles of learning, okay. Not all the people who are sitting in this class, say for example you've got 15 people sitting in this class, not all the people have a same style of learning. There are some people who are kinesthetic learners, there are some people who are auditory learners, and there are some people who learn by looking at things. So kinesthetic are people, the guys who like to do things, the guys or the girls who like to work with their hands, or probably do a live example and learn in that manner. Like there are some people who like to write stuff when they can't memorize things directly, so they have to take things and write it down. There are some people who probably only want to hear. You may think that in your class they are fast asleep, they may probably sit like that, but the minute you tap them, they already know what you're saying. They will concentrate. They are auditory learners. There are some people who probably will not understand anything if you don't show them visuals, you don't show them images. Now how do you actually do this? How do you identify this? At the start of your training sessions, you can do something very, very simple, is have a quick game with them. Tell everyone, close your eyes and tell them a fairy tale story. Just tell them a very fairy tale story, like a horse galloping on the seashore, a princess in the castle. And when you give them this, explain that in details to them. After that, just stop the story abrupt and tell them to open their eyes and ask the people the reaction. Some people, you will be surprised, will tell you, oh, actually I felt the sea breeze in my face. That person is a kinesthetic learner over there. Some people may say, oh, I actually felt I could touch the horse over there. That's your kinesthetic learner. Some people say, I could hear the sound of the waves. That's an auditory person. Someone said, oh, actually when I actually was on the beach, I could see sand all around me. That's kind of your learners. That's very, very important for your training program to be successful. You need to identify the learning styles. You can probably do that at the start of your training session to understand what type of learners you have, and then the next important thing is customize your training. Customize your training in such a manner where you cater to all the different styles. Yeah. So that's one technique that I use, Mihika, in how I handle training. There are various other methods as well. I would encourage you to develop your own style for training as well, because you practice it on your own and you'll master it. I've got another question from Nihar. Nihar basically wanted to know, how do you monitor your teams after training? How do you monitor your team's performance? I think I've already spoken about this, Nihar, in the RLBR technique that I did, but just to elaborate a little more in detail, you can actually do post-training surveys. You can actually send out a form. You can look at post-training post 1 week. You can look at post-training fortnight. You can monitor your trainee's journey over a period of 1 month. Usually the company that I worked previously, Tech Mahindra, we had a 90-day journey with our trainees, where after 90 days of coaching and grooming, the trainee was a finished product and as good as a veteran. So you can probably try these different techniques. Another way is question answer sessions, online surveys, and the best one, like I would say, to give you good results is analytics. When I talk about analytics is something that gives you pain points. It tells you, okay, so this particular trainee has skipped X question. Another trainee has skipped the same question. So you get to know, once you do a survey, your analytics actually tell you that these are the types of questions that are a pain area and a gap, and you can probably visit that back in your when you're designing your training content. So I hope that's answered your question there. I have another question from Suprit. Suprit says, how do you keep up with news and trends in the employee training? Very simple. I would very simply say, like, the best news that you get in the training world is you get this information out from the grapevine. The grapevine is basically your colleagues, your friends, your organization, people who talk around you. They talk about the latest trends. It's just like about any other industry. Apart from that, you also can visit online forums. You can look at something that's online. You can join online trainer groups. Another good portal for trainers is the Indian Society for Training and Development, which actually is kind of guild where all trainers have a 2-year certification. You can be a member over there as well. To answer that, Suprit, there are lots of other techniques. The best these days is online. I'll answer a quick question over here with Savita Saxena has mentioned is how does performance appraisals relate to training needs? I think I've already spoken about this earlier as well. An organization is there to do profit, and basically a performance appraisal is nothing but a reward system. It rewards its best employees, and it highlights gaps for individuals who are not able to come up the curve, and that's where training actually fits in. So I would say your performance appraisals do drive training initiatives, and that's where it's important. I do have received a couple of other questions as well, but in the interest of time, I will not be able to. I would love to answer your queries, so I'm going to be posting that on your page as well as we go ahead. So thank you, wonderful people, for you spending your time and being with me today, joining me in this session. Remember one more thing over here: it is your journey, it is your life, and all I can simply say is that Welingkar is the place to be, because it's a very well-paced course that they have to offer in 2 years. So go ahead, go for it, and get it now.